Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Spooky Show with Eric and myself. And tonight, we are so excited to have the one and only Mr. Steve Mera in the house. Whoop, 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 whoop. Hi, Steve.
Thank you. Hi, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Well, you know what? We people in the chat, I have to apologise. We are late tonight because we've been talking behind the scenes that we just forgot to go on air. But you're going to love tonight. Steve is such an interesting guy. He does so much for not just the paranormal community, but for the UFO, for the cryptid, for all of us. And he's always pushing boundaries, and he's an innovator. So thank you for what you do, Steve. We don't want you to give this up ever. We won't let you. You do know that.
Yeah, it is life-consuming, this subject. I can't see me giving up here anytime soon.
No. And I know that this conversation tonight is going to go on a little bit. So before we even start, we want you back on another show so we can continue with this.
Absolutely, yeah, no problem.
Can we start? And people in the chat, thank you for joining. Tim's there and Rita's there. Please don't be shy. Say hello. Put your questions. You can stop us at any point and we'll put them to Steve. Hi, William. We will put them to Steve because we know what it's like when Steve's talking about a certain thing and you're asking a question, and then we've carried on and you want to go back, we have to go back to that spot. So I'm sure Steve won't mind if we interrupt you.
No.
But Steve, I want to take you back to the beginning. Let's start with Phenomena magazine, because it is a phenomenon in itself, isn't it? It is grown and grown.
Well, it was. Yeah, it's been going on for quite some years now. I mean, when I took over an organisation called MAPIT, that was Manchester's Aerial Phenomena Investigation Team. It was formed in 1973. It was about one of the third longest running organisations in the country. I took over it around about late 80s, early 90s, from a gentleman called David Rees. Now, they had a magazine which was called Skywatch, and this was a MAPIT magazine. It was in-house magazine, and then when I came along, I decided to change the name to Phenomena magazine, and it was only an in-house to members. But the demand got pretty high because people kept saying, Steve, how do we get it without having to join the organisation? And at that time, I was already an editor for an organisation known as NARROW, Northern Anomalies Research Organisation, which with Jenny Vandals and Peter Hoff. We did a lot of research in that organisation. So I was already editor of a magazine that they had called Narrow Minded, funny enough. Anyways, I thought, okay, we'll start putting it out to people that wanted it. And it grew and grew. So I thought, well, it's time not to have it as an in-house magazine and flip the coin and have it as anyone can have it. And we decided to start putting that out. And we wanted to make sure that it's not something that people have to put their hand in the pocket for, because it's information, and you don't have to pay for it. Information. I've always been very stern about that. You're contending with the internet now, and there's so much information on the internet. It's about networking, and it's about breaking those barriers of language through other countries. So this is the reasons why we started to expand into 12 countries now, and multiple languages, and a complete separate edition under the Spanish edition, which isn't a duplicate of ours in a different language. It is a standalone. We have our own editors doing their own work in different languages and different things in the magazine. So it has become a network, and we have now 15, 16 years of monthly issues. It's a free monthly magazine. It's available on our website. The website has been changed. It's been upgraded. It's come under our formal company, which is Awakening Events Limited. But when you go on there, you can just select Phenomena magazine, and you've got all the details there on how to obtain it. There's even perks and memberships and stuff for those that like to get into, obtaining news clippings and information and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, we like it because it's about obtaining information and networking, and that's what's good about it.
I've just I've written it there. I think I've spelt it right. I could be wrong.
Awakening
Events Limited.
Yeah, that's it.
Tim says, Steve, I read you were associated with the X-Files. Please, could you tell us more about this?
Yeah, absolutely. This is from Tim. Yeah, well, I mean, when X-Files was out, Chris Carter, I mean, I was in the field and I've been writing for a long time, so supplied information which got wrote into 3 different episodes of the X-Files, and this is around about from season 3 onwards, and I got introduced to the team, and I was kind of part of the invited to there was an X-Files convention in Manchester. Mm-hmm. And some of the stars turned up, so that was interesting. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, it's I still try and watch them now and again, and I feel like they're good, but they're just outdated now, compared to what we know now. I'd love to see a more modern version, being produced. But it's enjoyable. I enjoyed it. Yeah. So yes, I had some, and I was featured in some magazines and posters and things like that. But yeah, it was good fun.
So have you sort of done these experiments with a medium that's receiving this information?
Well, we have used mediums, but what tends to happen, we get caught up in something which is referred to as the transpositional triangle of contact. Now, let me just explain that for your listeners. A relative of yours passes away. You go and see a medium or psychic. Now, some of them are very gifted. Mm-hmm. You sit there and you wanted to see if you can communicate with a relative who's passed away. Now, what's happening is, right, because we know through test procedures when we were in communications with these entities that we were allowed to ask questions. And we actually outlined 10 questions, but they delivered all 10 answers before we gave the question.
Yeah.
They're getting it from us.
Yeah.
So we now know through that demonstration, and it's not just once, it's happened a few times, they're demonstrating the fact that they're obtaining the information from the experimenters or sitters. So you go and see some psychic and you ask them, my relatives passed away, what if they're okay, that sort of thing. The phenomena, which is ever present on many occasions, goes, oh, this is interesting. I'll play with this. So what it does is it obtains the information from you.
Yeah.
The phenomena delivers it back, not to you, but to the psychic. And the psychic really is psychic because she's in communication with the source and obtaining that information from it, is delivering it back to you. So you end up with a transpositional triangle of contact, you see, and it's going round and round and round. And it's building the hypothesis that you are communicating with a dead relative when sometimes you're not. Sometimes it's obtaining information, it's being delivered back. Because you're going to say, oh my God, how does the psychic know that? They must be in communication with my dead relative.
Yeah.
But really, that's not always the case. Now, I'm not saying they can't get in touch with dead relatives. That's probably maybe they can. But this is happening as well. And this is where it starts to muddy the water sometimes, because we've got to really work out what's going on. And we've done test procedures to prove that on many and many occasions.
Yeah. Sometimes I do think, as a medium, and this is the question that I've toyed with for the past 2 years now, are we being lied to?
What we've got to consider is, once we lose a loved one, their consciousness, where's it go?
Yeah.
In the ether. Now, if the consciousness is in the ether, then ethereal hijacking might be able to take place. And that means that something can come along and tell you everything that person knows. And that's all we've got to rely on is information to prove it is them. So that can be problematic. We don't really know 100%. I would like to say yes, we do have the capabilities of communicating with, our relatives we've lost and loved ones. But I think again, this is the same situation like last time. I think there might be a bit of both that's happening, and it muddies the waters, and this is what's so very, very problematic.
Yeah. Right, I've got some questions in the chat now. I've got to go back. Ian is asking, Steve, do you have any plans to investigate again with my good friend Don Phillips?
Well, I've just finished doing a TV show with Don Phillips for Unsolved Mysteries. It'll be out in October. And it is what they are saying in 35 years of Unsolved Mysteries. That is the best episode that they've had. It's also the longest episode that they're actually airing as well.
Excellent.
I do have some plans to do some bits, but it's more under the scientific scrutiny we've done. Because that's what's required. To press him, see what his capabilities are, to push the boundaries. I want to know what the limitations are. So
Becky.
Yeah, because there's a big debate as to what is Becky, and it's very, very interesting. It is not a normal cohabitee situation. It's very, very odd. You know what's good for us is that she's ever present, it's replicatable, and that's great for science because we can continue doing tests under different vigorous conditions.
Yeah, of course. Right, there's another question here. Tim says, Steve, you and your team investigated the haunting known as the Rochdale poltergeist. What kind of phenomenon did you experience? I believe it was 1996, and I wonder, is it still haunted?
Well, the location I don't believe is haunted. We after we had the family relocated. At that time, we were writing a lot of protocols. I was doing a lot of corporate investigations. In fact, I did 16 years of corporate investigations. When we say corporate, those were big companies that wanted to keep it confidential. And that involved city councils and private landlords. And Rochdale City Council was one of them. And though that we've operated with councils all across the country, up to Scotland, in Stirling actually as well, provided this protocol to them into how to deal with situations if your tenants report disturbances and keep control of the situation without getting out of hand. So they're kind of being the clients at the end of the day, and we're protecting their interests as well as those that are having these difficulties. And some of them are very difficult, traumatic even. Now, we had the family relocated because, yes, there was disturbances. That was confirmed. We had enough evidence to show that. And then the houses, we went through a process known as fallowing. And what we do with a home, which is having disturbances, is that we ask them to board it up. And we don't want UV. No UV getting in. We want complete darkness in that. No, nothing. And we want the electricity cut off at the 3-phase coming in. That means that there's no electricity even coming through the 3-phase. The 3-phase is what comes in prior to your consumer unit where all your fuses are. We want that turning off, and it has to stay fallow for 12 months. We're starving the phenomena out, in a sense of speaking. And especially when you're dealing with poltergeist phenomena, they're intelligent enough to move on. And that, in this case, it was. And we had a specialized letter go out to any new tenant that goes in there. And it's asking specific questions, but not about the paranormal, because you don't ask somebody who's just moved in about things going on there. You don't want them to know, really tenants, to be honest. And but by their answers, we can work out. It's a very clever document, questions. And there was nothing reported there, so that was resolved. But the phenomena did follow the family for about maybe 3 or 4 weeks and then fizzled out. The disturbances were there with a stereotypical type of poltergeist infestation, deliverable through a vexation cycle, stress, upset, that sort of thing. Because they're fear feeders, that's all these things, and they're parasite. But what was very interesting was the forming of water. There was water forming. And what was interesting in August, I think it was August 96, I think Tim's right, there was, strangely enough, there was a heat wave. Don't happen very well. That's a phenomenon in itself. But there was a heat wave across the country. It hadn't rained for several weeks, and there was a hosepipe ban on. And so we were trying to figure out, how does water get into the location? Now, this is a prefabricated bungalow. Upstairs in the loft area, because it's a bungalow, they didn't even have a header tank. In fact, they had no pipes going up there whatsoever. So there's no water above them. The only time you can get water is out of the tap, and the faucet, and the actual boiler is also in the bathroom, actually, behind the door. So it's got to be tap water. What else can it be from form of tap water? So that's why the analysis of this was taken, and it turned out it was far from tap water. Wow. The UCSM level on the normal tap water was like 93 to 97 USMs, and the phenomena of the water was 1,900 and something.
Where was the water?
The water appeared in a number of different places. It was I got called. Mr. Gardner had gone into the kitchen to make me a cup of tea, and a couple of others that were with me, and he shouted out, and I remember running into the kitchen, and I'll never forget this scene. It was, I can only describe it, it was raining in the kitchen. Now, it's not a drizzle. This is heavy, heavy drops. And I'll give you an example. He's one of these guys that puts the milk in the cup first for a couple of
right, days. Yeah.
Right? Some people don't, some people do. And I saw the droplet go into the mug, and the milk jumped out.
Oh, wow.
Big droplets.
Yeah.
I looked up, and I'm getting wet. He sat on this small stool with an umbrella up, with a smirk on his face, as if to say, "I told you so," and I'm like, "What the hell?" And I'm looking up, and now the ceiling, you can see the ceiling, but there's something between you and the ceiling, and it might only be about an inch or half an inch, I don't know. And it's a whole shimmer. It's just a whole shimmer.
Oh.
And coming from that is these massive droplets. And within a minute, the kitchen was soaked, absolutely soaked. What happened then was, maybe about 3-4 minutes, the shimmer stopped, and the shimmer just kind of disappeared. It just, in parts, actually, it was a bit there and then a bit, and then gone. But the water that had damaged the kitchen retained. So Mr. Garner opens his cupboard, and he's got like 3 or 4 different Wonder Mops. They're used to this. And he just gets at it. Not a word, nothing. It was like it was a mundane, normal thing. I was like, what the hell have I just seen? And then he said, "Oh, it happens." And I thought, it happens? I mean, I've never seen anything like it in my life, to be honest with you. And I never probably will in my life. But I am only aware of a handful of cases worldwide of that, to that level. There was times when a door would suddenly just water would just appear all over the door.
Wow.
That would disappear. Now, the interesting one was when we took the analysis of water was in the hallway. And we saw this, and this is creepy looking. This is really creepy. And there's a photograph, and I can put it out there. You probably, some of you viewers might have seen it. I'm a very young lad, and I've got this pad, and I've got this pen, and I'm like looking up going, oh my God. And there was an arc of water moving in the hallway on the ceiling. Now, it was about this wide and about this long, and it was moving along the ceiling. And it was like, do you remember if you got a glass of water and you flung it across your kitchen floor, you get parts of it that goes out further, don't you?
Yeah.
It was like parts of it would come out, and then the rest of it would move along, and parts of it would move on. And it came to the light fitting, and it stopped. I decided to go around it. What the hell am I seeing here? So anyway, the loft door is right there. So of course this is an opportunity. We get up there off the loft, and we can see it, and we've got the hand over, and it's bone dry. There's nothing dusty, and yet underneath you can see this water on it moving. I thought, this isn't normal. So we decided to take samples of it, but we had to take tap sample water as well because we need a bench test.
Yeah.
North Water Laboratories, he analysed it for us, and that's where we got the information back. It was not tap water.
What was it? Do you know what?
It was water, but it had been adversely affected somehow, and they don't really know, to be honest. The conductivity level in that water was so extreme. It was an unknown. And what we wanted to do was just prove that, well, because people were saying, the council saying, oh, well, we don't know what's going on. The family must be throwing water all over the place and throwing it on the ceiling. Well,
okay.
It's not tap water. So how did you do that?
Yeah.
And in fact, that happened when we'd relocated the family for the night to other family members. So none of them were there anyway.
No.
And to witness that, I have to say, and I got thumped in the back, of course, there. That wasn't very nice. But when I got thumped, it was like an electric shock and a thump at the same time. Now, the thump hurt, it bloody hurt, and I did have a bruise about this big on the back. And it was just to the left of my right kidney. And it was enough to lift me off the bed and basically put me on top of this small dressing table. And that happened so quick, I don't even recall it. But I'm a big guy. It takes a lot to lift me up off a bed when I'm sat on it to put me on top of a small dressing table.
Yeah.
But I felt that compellment of movement. Now, being an engineer when I left school, when you start as an electrical engineer, back then, they probably won't do it now for health and safety reasons, but they used to give me an electric shock. They don't give you one. They used to, because they want you to know what it's like.
Or like a battery.
So they just tap you with it, and you feel repelled. It pushes you away. That's what this is what alternative current does, rather than DC. Because the old DC, you'd hold it and you go, oh, you won't be able to let go. That's why it could kill people. But now with alternating current AC means that it repels you, it pushes you away, which is a safety mechanism. And it felt like that as well as that was the case. That was only the first case after 12 years I've been working in the subject I came across where I was considering leaving because that bothered me. It bothered me because I was trying to understand how you can protect oneself against something that you cannot see and can lash out at any given time. And I was trying to get my head around that because I hadn't experienced that before. But then obviously over the few days as we go on, the adrenaline kicks in and you start asking questions. Well, how does it do that? What mechanism could it cause? What energies are it? And that kind of got me into it even more, So, but yeah, it's I've done only a handful, 5-6 poltergeist cases in 41 years. So they're very rare, despite what people will see on YouTube.
But then I suppose you've got that side of it where, yes, it's scary. Yes, you've experienced. Yes, you've been hurt. But other people are depending on you. So you've stayed maybe to...
Oh, yeah. I mean, we did help them as much as we can. We had to have them relocated, But then the phenomenon tracked them for 4 weeks. And
well, not only that, too, it's like, I'm curious, like, what makes it do that? What is it?
The phenomenon of poltergeist infestation, we believe, is a management agency. It's not just doing it to one property. It's multitasking. It's deliverable to a number of properties. And it's leaving quantum anchors in those properties to target the location. The quantum anchor is an apport. So what it does is the apport phenomena, it creates an apport, but because we've done analysis on apports, and it turns out the apport is not the item that left. Oh, no. It looks like it, feels like it, weighs the same, everything. You'd not know the difference. On the microscope, it's not the item. Now, we now know these items which are left are quantum anchors because when you relocate the apports, the phenomena tracks the apport for a certain duration of time. Now, this is even when it's a high severity and high frequency case. In other words, 10 incidents a day are happening. You take this away, you've got nothing for 3 or 4 days. And I mean, absolutely nothing. You've got the people ringing you up going, have you got rid of it? What have you done? You've done nothing but relocate the apport. However, you don't take the apports home, you take them to a location, and a phenomena tends to manifest around them until it realizes. And when it realizes, it goes, oh, what's going on here? Oh, I'm not having that. And it tracks back to the location you initially were. generates another airport or something. It could even do that when you're not even in. How would you know? How do you know the cup of tea you're drinking out of, the cup, is in an airport? If you're at work, you wouldn't know, would you? So
No.
seemingly acting like quantum anchors. And we've been saying to people, and through the test procedures, relocating the airports causes suppression in the phenomena. Because it seems that we are dealing with some type of intelligence. It's not just possibly dealing with that one location, because this is how resourceful this phenomenon is. It's like a computer program. What it's doing is it's managing the situations at probably at different locations. And it's management. And this is why it needs quantum anchors, because it needs to know where to deliver the phenomena to.
Right.
It's a management thing. So basically, we can confuse it. We can take one step ahead and confuse it. And that's part of the paranormal mechanics. Now, we put this to the test and we asked people to do this out there in the field. And they started coming back to us and saying, you were right. Remove the airport, remove phenomena.
How do you find the airport, though? That's what I'm saying.
Well, you've got to be there.
Okay.
Recognize an apportation and an apportation process. Now, if you're not there, the likelihood is you might have an apport there. And you're not going to get rid of it. You're going to be stuck. It's clever. It's resourceful, this phenomena. When the real phenomena, when the phenomena taking real apports, when it's moving items, the likelihood is it's in that wall. It's under the floor. It's right beneath your feet. Because it doesn't have to transit it further and further away in long distances because it takes more energy. It's so resourceful, this phenomena. It'll put it 2 feet away from you in the middle of the wall or under the floor. And how do we know that? Because with floorboards and walls have been taken down and they've found the items right next to them. You know, and this is the thing. They're so resourceful, so clever.
So, you know, I'm buggered because my house is built on a Roman villa.
Oh, my.
Steve, when you got some free time, come and spend a week here and you can investigate as much as you want.
That's a challenge.
you and Jackie, both of you, come over here and honestly, because the phenomenon here is very airy-fairy and it's not nasty, but I have had a pot thrown at me. And was it last week or the week? I think it was last week. I had to excuse myself from the show because I was here on my own. And there was 2 people having a conversation in my living room that weren't there. It was a bit sort of like, oh, I'm on my own.
we have that here. I mean, I do try not to bring my work home with me, but it's very hard sometimes, you know. And it's not because I'm inviting anybody back like Don does, because he does.
Yeah.
Right, but it's just like sometimes you might pick up the odd. I don't know. It's like it's something that just wants to, you know, attach or come with you or whatever. And we have had some crazy issues. Hammering at the door, the door's opening, front door opening, hammering at the door like a bailiff. And we're looking out, we can't see anybody.
Yeah.
I can't see him. I must have him on CCTV camera. Oh, well, do you know what they did? They deleted that one section. I'm playing it, and suddenly I thought, it's deleted that one section. And it's like the recordings that we've got. Now I've got a specific type of recorder. I've got a number of them, but this particular one I'm using, you cannot delete. Say, for instance, you've got a recording 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You can't delete recording 3. You have to delete 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
Can't delete it. It's a special type of recorder. Oh, what a phenomenon can. The phenomenon can leave it 1, 2, 4, 5. You're not going to have number 3. And 3, I played back and go, oh my God, can you hear that? That is incredible on 3. Oh, they take it away. There it is. Not having it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like Bull Ride, a game. This is what you could have won.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I completely know that.
And I've been seeing more people talking about that too, that they have certain sections of stuff missing from their equipment.
Yeah. They take it back. They're swines, they are.
Irene in Japan, she says, spirits that I have talked to can adapt to whatever language that you speak.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny, that isn't it, that they can do that.
They can, and we proved it. Yeah, absolutely. They're incredible.
Anna says, Anna Goodrich, good evening, Anna. Thank you for joining us. Anna says she had a case that what she heard with her ears, or my ears, I assumed it was an animal or something outside of the window of where I was. It was loud. On my audio, it barely registers, and the sounds like 3 words being said, but nothing like that, like nothing at all like what I heard in real time. It left me really puzzled. So she's getting sort of something else on her
Yeah, well,
voice.
that's because this is this transplacement phenomenon, and this is how different it can be. Because sometimes what you hear isn't exactly what gets recorded. Even in photography, we've had people say, "I took this photograph of this circular craft, and on the photograph, it's just a tiny little white dot," and they can't understand it. They say, "But this is what we saw. Why is it not turned out?" This is what it does. You see, it is so frustrating.
That is nothing normal. Are you seeing red and orange there, yeah?
Yep.
Are you seeing any shape to it? I know you can't see it on the camera, but it's moving very, very slow. Is it triangular?
I don't know.
It looks a bit triangular, doesn't it? You can't see it on the camera.
I can see it on my camera. It looks like it does look like it's diamond shaped.
It's diamond shaped, yeah.
But not on the camera.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Aye. Why is it? Why? Where's it gone?
Go.
So yeah, it's strange. What we see is not always, what is recorded, and it's the same for vocal sounds or audibles.
I remember Barry Fitzgerald, bless him. He took a group of people down into an oubliette somewhere. I'm not going to mention the place.
I know.
And they did a little experiment, and one person recorded it on his voice recorder watch thing. When it was played back, and they did it literally seconds later, he played it back, wasn't what they heard with their own ears. It's what they heard on the voice recorder was somebody unsheathing a sword. And with that, come on, let's all out. Let's go. So he's actually helped people,
We are absolutely. I mean, we decided to take our best recordings and provide it to some Japanese company, which was specialist in instrumental transcommunication analysis and EVP. And we sent it off to him because we were trying to say, well, you know what, this is beyond your EVP. When you ask, you see, you've got EVP level 1, 2, and 3, or ABC. You might say A's that are class A's and best, then E's and your C's. Well, that's okay. But what we do is we split it and refer it to AVP, which is actual voice phenomenon, is when there's communication. Because EVP is not communication, EVP. If you look into the terminology, it's electronic voice phenomena is captured, but it's not in communication with you. They are vocal responses, many occasions, sometimes there are conversations between two of them in some cases. We've got some, we had a vase that was placed on the side with some glasses, a glass vase with some flowers in it. And we left a recording device, and the recording device picked up two sounded female voices. And one said, slightly older sounding than the younger one, said, what was it now? Something about the flowers. Where are whose are these flowers?
Oh.
And the other one said, that man got them.
Oh, that's really nice.
And then we get ones which are just completely random, like, I've seen a lovely dress. You think, what? I've seen you play it back. I've seen a lovely dress. You think it's got absolutely nothing to do with us in the environment or whatever. So that's a lot of EVP. So, however, when you can say, can you please tell me this and tell me that, and you get an actual recorded reply, then you should be referring that to something slightly different, like a actual voice phenomenon, because you're actually communicating here. Electronic voice phenomenon is not about communication when it was initially wrote up. It was about, and it all started with instrumental transcommunication. It was birds, actually, people recording bird sounds. This is how it came to be with Spiritcom and that years and years ago, because they were picking up whispers and unusual, sounded like vocals. That's what generated the interest in the subject of investigation. And Spiritcom came in, started looking into it, instrumental transcommunication, and it's developed into EVP. But we sent we sent the best one we had over to these specialists. And he came back, they did some looking into it and they analysed it, and he came back and he sent me this email with the right rant. It was a right rant. And he said, look, when you're sending information over regarding EVP, the idea is to record it in a silent environment, not have people like your team talking or something, because it's very difficult to listen to the EVP with your team talking. The thing is, the team talking was the EVP.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Not tell the difference between somebody who was there. And now, I don't know if you remember, but we did some experiments when we were at a certain location, not too far away, Nottingham. The glass dome with recording devices.
Yes.
Now, we've done our experiments at this end on that. And what's interesting is that the voice is in the dome with the device. And why? Because it speaks like that on the recorder. It's like it's got a peg on it. It's because the sound is captured inside the dome with the recording device.
I've seen that. It's amazing.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It is.
We have for these, or actually all the experiments. I love that.
Yeah, it is crazy.
So Irene says something here. I'm going to get back to some of these messages. She says, I get spirits here that have lived themselves here in Tokyo very differently from other places in Japan, and it's disturbing to hear and see. You have to be careful with them because they aren't the type you want to work with. So have you had things that have really disturbed you, Steve, that you've had to sort of like, let's just stop this now, not proceed?
I mean, well, when it comes to communications with, not all of them are spirit. This is the problem. Mm-hmm. This is the biggest problem we have, is that we have interpretation that things are spirit, when in fact sometimes there's deception taking place, and there's pretense taking place, and this is when it can be problematic. And now you might have, some people might refer to them as misguided spirits. We can call them whatever you want at the end of the day, but they usually have a different aspect to them, positiveness or negativeness. And dealing with some of those things, can be sometimes problematic. There are ways of dealing with them, though, of course. And of course, when dealing with, the most severity of cases is your your diabolical hauntings, your demonological stuff. Don't come across that very often, but I have come face to face with it on a few times, and even I backed off. I'm not stupid. At the end of the day, we all have limitations, but even I backed off on some of those things. Absolutely.
We are going to say good night, and thank you for watching. Thank you to everybody in the chat, and especially to Steve and Eric. Thank you very much. And we'll be back next week. Take care, everyone.
All right.